Hey guys, today we're going to give you some tips on planting seeds indoors. It's April 10 right now, and we started planting seeds indoors at the end of March. And what this does is this gives us a head start on our growing. It's going to give us a longer growing season. We're going to be able to harvest longer, and we're going to be able to get more crops because we're not waiting until the last frost, till after the last frost to plant outside. This is giving us probably a 6 weeks head start. Okay, we're in Zone 7, Central Virginia. So we've planted several different vegetables indoors. We've got tomatoes, we've got eggplant, we've got okra, and we've done some apple tree cuttings that we just think are pretty, so they're kind of here for this aesthetic purposes, but I'm going to talk about those a little bit too. So if you'll come forward, honey, my beautiful bride is recording this video. Now I'm going to show you some key tips you've got to keep in mind when planting indoors. Now these are okras that we planted in eggshell halves. We have a video of that about 10 days old as of this recording showing you how we do it. It's pretty easy. You just put soil in the eggshell halves and you put the seeds in. But one of the big tips we want to give you when growing in seeds, this is kind of a twofold tip. Number one, you've got to keep your soil moist. It's going to dry out quicker in an indoor environment if you're growing it in your house than it would outside, because at night there's no condensation going on due to the cooling temperatures because we have a constant temperature in the house. So you want to make sure you're keeping your soil moist, and that means you're probably going to have to water it every day. Now, however, the second part of this tip is that since these are in eggshell halves, there's no way for the water to escape. We don't have holes in the bottom of these eggshells. So the only way for this water to escape is to either be absorbed and used by the plant or to evaporate over time. If you overwater these plants that you plant in eggshell halves, you will kill it, okay? You will kill the plants. So these are coming up, this one's coming up, these have come up. We see we have a couple here that did not come up. I could have removed those and replaced them with ones that are coming up for the purpose of this video to make it look like I know what I'm doing, but I didn't, because my suspicion is that nothing's coming up here is because we may have overwatered these. Now, they still might come up over the next couple of days, but if they don't, the reason why is probably because I overwatered them and I killed them. So you've got to watch out for that, okay? Now, step back there, honey, so we can show them a broader view, because I want to show them something about my tomatoes. We put more tomatoes in here because it's a bigger space. We get these containers from the Goodwill for like 99 cents. We go to the Goodwill once or twice a month, and we're always looking out for these Tupperware containers. Sometimes you can get them bundled up, like maybe half a dozen of them of different sizes for 99 cents. These are wonderful if you're into gardening. But the way we keep this soil moist is we made a watering can out of a empty gallon milk jug. Honey, come closer. Let's show them the top. You've heard me say it in other videos. I'll say it again. One of the best ways to recycle is to reuse. All we've done is poke numerous holes in the cap of this empty milk jug. So instead of going out and spending $8.99 on a watering can, we use a milk jug. And then look at this. You poke holes in it, and this way you spread the water mostly evenly around what I'm trying to keep moist here. Okay, so these are our tomatoes. And this is how we water them daily. And I'll go ahead and just hit our eggplant here. This is eggplant. It's coming up. And after our last frost, which is typically the last week of April, so by May, these will be much bigger because that's 3 weeks away from right now. And we'll transfer these to our garden outside. And we've been preparing our soil out there, tilling it up with the double dig no-till method. You can watch a video on that. If you don't have a tiller and you want to know how to till up your gardening spot, watch our video on how to double dig no-till a garden. It's kind of a tongue twister, but it works. Now, you want to keep the soil moist, but don't over water. And then another good tip is you want to make sure that before you plant your seeds in your soil that you've crumbled your soil up and it's very loose. I also have another fail here, epic fail I committed that I wanted to show you. I could have not shown you this to make it look like I know more about what I'm doing, but as we learn through trial and error, we want to share our results with you. As you see here, I've got a lot of large clumps in this soil. That's why only a couple of these plants have come up. The mistake I made was that before we planted, I'm a bit manic, which you can probably tell by watching the videos. That's a rock. It shouldn't even be in there. But I didn't crumble the soil up enough. I should have taken the time to crumble the soil up even more, and then I would have had more plants. So make sure that you're making your soil as fine as you possibly can before you plant your seeds. So that's pretty much it. We've been doing a lot of cuttings on our apple trees. Because we're propagating apple trees and some other trees through cuttings. This one, I wanted to talk to you about this one for a minute. Isn't this absolutely beautiful? Now, these are cuttings and these will root, but I want to point out to you that it's going to take these several weeks longer to root than these because I left the flowers on them. That's because I saw these in somebody's yard about a week ago and I thought it was so beautiful, the flowers. I wanted to use them as a bouquet on our table. And I asked the guy if I could take some cuttings from his tree. It wasn't my property. Never take cuttings or anything from anybody's property without their permission, okay? That's stealing, and we don't want to steal. And I want to tell you about the tree. The tree was older. You could tell it had broken several times, the limbs, from where maybe bears were crawling up to get the crab apples. The guy said they're just nasty old crab apples. The deer and the bear like them, but they ain't no good to eat. That's how he put it. And the tree had not been well cared for, and vines had grown around it, and it looked like almost like it was dead. But coming out of what looked like a broken dead tree were some of the most beautiful reddish whitish flowers I'd ever seen. So this is going to be Virginia crabapple. Will we be able to eat the apples? No. I mean, unless we want to get a tummy ache. Will the deer and the bears? Yes, and that's beautiful. But secondly, they have beautiful blossoms. Folks, in my mind and in the way I see it, there's no such thing as an ugly tree. So I thought this was so beautiful. I took some clippings and we're going to put these trees up on the boundary of our property, out of the way to where we can see them and admire their beauty. And that's probably too much information and doesn't really have much to do with starting seeds indoors. But I just wanted to share that with you because the beauty of nature, and it's not to be taken lightly or taken for granted. It's not just some old dead apple tree. The crab apples, it ain't no good for eating. It's good for something, even if it's just to be beautiful and majestic at the edge of your property. So if you enjoyed this video and if you learned something from it, please subscribe to our channel and stay tuned for more from Homesteading Off the Grid.